Page, Adonde, KB. And I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Tony Reale. One of these things is not like the other. And for you others, well, good luck, y'all. What? Today, a football player gets paid, a tennis player gets a pep talk, and a baseball player gets his pinstripes. Let's go around the horn, kiddos.
Yeah. You got this? You got this thing?
Pretty sure it was.
It's Around the Horn, the show of competitive banter.
College football season is back, which means we need to talk about Twitter statements. Today, Ohio State head coach Urban Meyer dropped this gem on the bird, apparently to explain that he didn't lie. He just didn't tell the truth about domestic violence accusations against his former receivers coach Zach Smith. Bizarre syntactical errors aside, Woodrow, what are we to make from these comments from the second highest paid public worker in Ohio?
Not much, honestly. I think he just gets in deeper and deeper every time he sends out tweets or sends out messages or clarifications. I mean, you made the point. He said that the investigator said, he didn't lie deliberately. He just didn't tell the truth, basically. I just don't understand. If he wants to move forward on this, he either needs to come out and address it with a group of reporters, since he picked on the media, and I'm part of it. Yes, we're easy prey. But why doesn't he reach out to abuse issue organizations and say, I'm going to donate that 3 weeks of my salary to you. I'm going to come in and talk to groups. I'm going to do something to change what's going on at Ohio State University. The people that go to school there and are fans of the team will support him. Everybody else is going, what's going on here?
Jay?
Yeah, it sounds as if he hasn't had ample opportunity to both explain himself and be truthful and or show some sympathy for victims of domestic violence. But this notion that this report somehow vindicates him or validates him is another example of him not being completely truthful, just like he wasn't at Big Ten Media Days, which is when this all started. The report also says that he claimed to have had a meeting with his wife, with Zach Smith and Courtney Smith. The report says they don't believe that. That's one indication. And the ultimate conclusion, if I may read here, he has cast doubt on his own honesty in a way that reflects adversely on him, the football program, and Ohio State. To me, that's not a resounding statement of support for Urban Meyer.
KB.
Urban Meyer seems to have circled the wagons around Urban Meyer. And as Jay pointed out, he's had month after month after month to get this right. If the truth sets you free, he is still bound by misinformation, disinformation, and just not telling the truth. I mean, what more was there to say? It was time to just step aside, let this issue go to rest, and hope that you would be embraced into the good graces of the Ohio State alumni once your suspension is over. And be thankful that your suspension is only as long as it is. You had one member of the Board of Trustees step down because he felt like you got away too easily.
Mina.
A lot of folks in the Columbus area, including Urban Meyer, need to log off. I can't get over him saying he didn't lie, then following that by quoting the report saying, he actually made a false statement. So I'm a writer. I use the thesaurus a lot. A false statement is a lie, okay? And to redirect the conversation towards whether or not there was an arrest or his memory is gaslighting. I realize that the concept of truth is malleable in 2018, but a lie is a lie, and his inability to acknowledge his dishonesty here is frankly appalling.
All right, moving on to the NFL. Pay that man his money. That's exactly what the Los Angeles Rams did with Aaron Donald, signing him to the biggest defensive deal in NFL history. The three-time All-Pro, four-time Pro Bowl selection, 2014 Defensive Rookie of the Year will now make $135 million, 87 of which is guaranteed. Mina, are you ready to crown him out there in LA?
I think this was a great move for this season. It was a move that had to be made because Aaron Donald is the best defensive player in the NFL. Where my concern kicks in is in a couple years. Because in 2020, when Jared Goff is playing on his fifth-year option, they're starting to talk about paying him a lot. You've got three other players now on the roster with cap hits over $16 million. And because they've traded away some of their draft picks, they won't be replenishing the rest of the roster with cheap labor. So suddenly the margin of error gets very thin, and you've got a bunch of very highly paid stars. But for now, Clinton, I love it, and I think this team should be a favorite to win the NFC.
Woodrow.
I found it funny that a group of ESPN experts had said the Defensive Player of the Year several days ago would be Aaron Donald when he hadn't even signed. And I thought, oh, you're creating something here. But we thought it was going to be done. I thought it would be done by Labor Day. I find it amusing, being in Denver, that he's going to average $3.5 million more per year than Von Miller, who had signed the biggest defensive contract a few years ago with the Denver Broncos. Is he that much better than Von Miller? Not really, but here's what he has. He's in a new marketplace, and he had put a lot of pressure on them. There was a feeling that he might even spend the entire year out. They did the right thing by paying him off. He did the right thing by getting back, because this is a legitimate Super Bowl team this year.
J.A.?
Mina referenced her concerns about the salary cap machinations in 2020. But Mina, 2020 is also the year they're moving into their new stadium, and they'll have those expensive PSLs to sign. So I think solidifying and locking in some of their name brand players, some of their star talent, I think will help in that marketing regard as well. I also like for Aaron Donald the paradigm shift in that he didn't want to just be paid as a defensive tackler or defensive lineman. He wanted to be paid as a great defensive player and even make quarterback type guaranteed money, and that's what he got.
KB?
And I love the fact of what he went out and did. He held out for his money, and he got his money. He didn't have to go through some silly preseason football games where he could get banged up more. Absolutely not. He's going to play for his money when it matters the most. So great for him. A great signing for the Rams. Now they've tied up their whole roster. They've let their fans know they're in this to win it. They've sent a shot to the rest of the league. And sure, are they as good as the Eagles coming out the NFC? Absolutely. No question about it. They can be there in that NFC championship game to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Miller and Donald don't play the same position, so it's not quite the same thing there. But Mina, back to you.
Look, this is great for the Rams. This is great for Aaron Donald. You know who it's not great for? Mark Davis and the Raiders. Because apparently they haven't been talking to Khalil Mack at all, and the market for this just went way up. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some activity on that front, because we're hearing trade rumors now, and given how high his price tag's going to be, I'm starting to believe them.
Mr. Adonde, last word.
Raiders-Rams, Week 1, Monday Night Football. Aaron, we know one guy will be there. Will Khalil Mack be there as well?
Ever the company man. Let us take it to Cleveland. Somehow, some way, a team coming off a winless year have officially become the darlings of the NFL offseason, and now they've got a QB controversy to boot. Top pick Baker Mayfield continues to shine in the final tune-up game against the Lions, and there's talk that there's no good reason for him not to start Week 1. Also, those impressions he's been doing in the offseason are hilarious. Watch them. Mina, you were the president of the Tyrod Taylor Appreciation Society. Should the Browns' QB decision be as easy as it is for Taylor?
No, I'm a fan of Taylor's game, but I'm not a fan of how Hugh Jackson handled this, declaring him the starter, not letting there be a competition. Look, Baker Mayfield has played well in the preseason, but he has not played with starters. He only did for a little bit. He struggled, as any rookie would, in limited action when Taylor was briefly injured. We don't know if he's better than Taylor. We don't know if Taylor is better than him, because there hasn't been a good faith competition, and now they're stuck with the decision. They got to go with Taylor. But I'm telling you, weeks 1 and 2, they've got the Steelers and the Saints. If they lose, the cries to put in Mayfield are going to be deafening.
KB, explain to me why Hugh Jackson is doing this.
Well, he's doing it because a year ago he seemed not to have a plan at all when he went into the season with like 3 quarterbacks and wound up with Kaiser, and how that Kaiser thing melted down at the end. They couldn't get along. It was just a grand mess. So the one thing I think he needs to do right now is to make a decision and pick a quarterback. If it's Mayfield, fine, go with it. If it's Taylor, maybe even better, because then you can bring along Mayfield a little bit slower, because Tyrod Taylor's had success in his league. He's still a young guy. He's got something to prove, and I think that might be the way that I would lean. But the main thing for Hugh Jackson is, in his situation, with his record, with that team and its record, just make a decision and stick with it.
J.A. Baker Mayfield's a fun guy. I'd want to see him play if I were in Cleveland. What about you?
Yeah, I might actually watch some Browns game if that were the case. And Kevin, I think Hugh Jackson needs to ignore his record and not worry about trying to rack up some victories this year to maybe try to get his career record in Cleveland a step or two closer to 500. We know that's a big task ahead of him, but he shouldn't worry about that. He should worry about the long-term prospects for this team. And if they drafted Baker Mayfield to be this quarterback of the future, the franchise player of the future, why not commence with the future right now?
Woodrow, you know more about the NFL than anybody here. Tell me what I don't know.
Sure. Well, unlike me now, I know what a sandwich looks like, and I know what a starting quarterback looks like, and that's Baker Mayfield. And he should be the starter. If Hugh Jackson is so worried about his future, he's got a contract until 2021. So if they fire him, which is going to probably happen anyway, he's going to get paid off. He'll negotiate. He'll get another job in the league as an assistant coach. But you got to start the guy that's going to entertain Cleveland, is going to give them hope for the future, and is going to do as well as Taylor would do there. They're putting together a pretty good team, but not for the present, but for the future. And let's cite this. In 22 possessions during the exhibition games, Baker Mayfield led his team to scores 7 times. I think any team in the NFL would take a quarterback who gets scores 33% of the time when you're on the field. It doesn't happen normally.
Mina, that's meat. What do you got?
Shots fired. We know what Baker Mayfield looks like against backups, Woody, okay? And he looked great, right? But we don't know what he looks like as a starter because, like I said, he was not given the opportunity to establish himself as a starter. And I wish he was given that opportunity, but he wasn't. We only have the information we've been given. And at this point, we don't have a clear idea of how he would perform in the NFL against ones.
J.A., quickly, what do you think has to happen to see Mayfield start this season?
Browns have to lose a few games, which will happen. You can be sure of that. So it should be starting by Halloween.
All right. Coming up, we're going to talk about that chair umpire that gave a pep talk to Nick Kyrgios. Stick around. I'm wearing a jacket and a tie, but not pants, y'all.
How about that?
Whoa.
TMI.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I should have done this years ago.
Disclaimer, traveling back in time is physically impossible unless you know how to build a functioning time machine. Then by all means, travel 25 years back in time, switch your car insurance to Geico. You could save a bunch of money. While you're there, please prevent your younger self from wearing that sleeveless tuxedo t-shirt, parachute pants, and glitter high tops to your senior prom. And at long last, rectify this horrible crime against nature. Geico is absolved of all liability if you destroy the fabric of time and space.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Buy or sell.
Actual football to be played in Yosemite this weekend. Alabama's quarterback situation is still the biggest mystery in the world to everyone not named Nick Saban. Also, the 6th-ranked Washington Huskies take on the 9th-ranked Auburn Tigers in Atlanta, Georgia, naturally. Michigan Notre Dame is also a thing that we're trying to make happen, and the Miami Hurricanes take on LSU in Dallas, Texas. Where is my GPS? Woody, you are the master of the slate. What stands out to you on this weekend's slate?
War Eagle and Huskies, they both have playoff implications this year. I think Washington has a chance to go undefeated through a pretty weak Pac-12, and Auburn's going to have a tough road to go through the SEC. But even with one loss, I think Auburn still has a chance at a playoff spot. I think with those two quarterbacks who had similar statistics last year and up for a Heisman Trophy possibilities this year, and two great offensive coaches in Malzahn and Peterson.
Hey, J.A.
Then I want to see what happens with the quarterback situation in Alabama. Can Tua Tagovailoa pick up where he left off in the championship game last year? Will Jalen Hurts have to come in? He's won 26 out of his 28 starts. What I want to hear is Michigan Notre Dame, because I can listen to those two fight songs all day long.
Pronunciation guide points there, KB.
Oh, you were right at the beginning on that, J.A. I'll want to see what happens with the quarterback situation in Alabama, T-squared, and Jalen Hurts with national championships between them. Not only that, you got Damian Harris and Najee Harris in the backfield. They're loaded at wide receiver. In fact, you could argue that for the first time, this is going to be an Alabama team that is carried by its offense and not necessarily by its defense. That's worth watching.
Mina Kimes.
I'm with Woody. Auburn-Washington is the game of the weekend. The honor of the Pac-12 is at stake. You might remember they went 1-8 in bowl games last season. Washington is a terrific team, but they've lost 3 of their last out-of-conference games against ranked opponents. If they win this game, according to Football Power Index, they have a 55% chance of making the playoffs. If they lose, it drops to 28%. Plus, Jarrett Stidham against that talented secondary is a thrilling matchup.
Metrics. All right. We're at the end of the first week of the U.S. Open, and aside from the GOAT, Serena Williams, blessing us with a commercial for the ages, the story has been about the heat. Perhaps that can explain why Nick Kyrgios was so disinterested in this match on Thursday, to the point that the chair umpire had to come over and have a little chit-chat with your man after the first set. Today, the USTA said the chair ump went beyond protocol, but will not be disciplined. J.A., buy or sell the chair umpire getting involved?
I'm in favor of it. I mean, used to be the chair umpire was the final arbiter. Guess what? We have computers and robots. Pablo's happy about that, to make those decisions now on whether the ball is in or out. What else does he have to do? Why not encourage the players to put out the best possible product for the fans in the stands.
KB, your thoughts?
Well, you got to sell this, J.A. Come on, this guy looks like a corner man in a fight, trying to encourage one of the participants to play harder. Can you imagine Mills Lane coming over to somebody's corner and say, you got to punch harder in the next round? Come on, guy, and then slap him upside the head? Absolutely not. Stay in your seat. This was a huge transgression of what an umpire should do in tennis.
Mina Kimes, your thoughts on Kyrgios needing a pick-me-up?
It's wildly inappropriate. Kevin's right. I love the idea that he's a kind guy. He's done this in the past. He did it with Gael Monfils, apparently, so it's clearly his personality, but it's inappropriate for the position. Okay, he's supposed to be a neutral observer, and this is far from neutral. I should have been punished for it.
More pronunciation guide points. Woodrow, your thoughts?
This should have been Sherlock Holmes, The Curious Case of Kyrgios, because what is he doing? Got a sports psychologist who is an umpire? It's like, imagine an umpire in baseball going up to the hitter and say, you know, son, you got to swing at that pitch. I'm going to call it a strike. That doesn't happen. Put him in a seatbelt if he's so interested in trying to help the players. It just doesn't make any sense, even if he's a nice guy.
All right, over to baseball. Andrew McCutchen, once the face of the Pirates, is now a backup option for the Yankees. The former National League MVP was dealt to New York from San Francisco, while the Pinstripers wait for Aaron Judge to come back. KB, buy or sell whether this is what they need to catch the Bo Sox?
No, this isn't what they need to catch the Bo Sox. This is what they need just to stay in the race, just to keep some momentum going, because Aaron Judge, as you mentioned, is not back yet. And you can't wear out Stanton, and he looks like he's hurting with this hamstring situation. So this is a great pickup just to maintain.
Mina Kimes, once he shaved the dreads, he wasn't as good of a player, in my opinion. Your thoughts on McCutchen?
That's true. I want to sell it because I prefer the Yankees to be hateable, and he's a really likable guy. But I got to buy it from a strategic perspective. Judge's replacement, Shane Robinson, has been hitting around 160. Neil Walker was playing out of position. So while McCutchen's not who he was, he presents a tremendous upgrade from those players, and that will help them down the stretch.
Woody Page.
Sure, and Stanton hadn't had a day off in more than a month. He needs to get some rest, make him the designated hitter. McCutchen's a better outfielder. You don't know what Judge is going to bring back. They got to hold off the A's, and they got to win that one playoff game. And Clinton, why don't you get out of the chair and go in there and help Kevin, because he needs your sport.
None of that, J.A.
Yeah, the problem is we don't know if, when Judge will return, what he will be when he returns. He's still dealing with that broken bone in his wrist. And yes, they're not getting all-star level or MVP level McCutchen, but they've been near the bottom of the league in production, batting production from the right fielder spot. We know McCutchen can be better than that.
All right, it's cut time. KB, I love you, brother. You're from the area, but you know, I got things to do. I got bigger moves to make. Time to go. Woodrow, don't ever try kissing up to me. You know the rules. Never at me. Showdown's next. Mina, J.A. J.A. used to live in L.A. Mina lives in L.A. now. Let's do this. Bills down 27-22 with the ball and 3 minutes left last night, and A.J. McCarron told his teammates in the huddle, watch this. This is going to be legendary. Before leading them on a game-winning TD drive, is it as legendary as McCarron described it, Mina, and could it earn him QB1 status?
Maybe not legendary, but I'll let him have it because he's not going to be the QB1. And quite frankly, Josh Allen shouldn't either. Nathan Peterman won this job this preseason, and they don't want Allen as the future of the franchise behind that offensive line. So McCarron's going to sit. Allen should sit. It should be the Peterman.
You know, why is he paying so much attention to preseason football? And why is McCarron using the word legend when NFL legends are not made before Labor Day? That's not how this sport works. So he should really be evaluating his life. If he's playing in the fourth quarter of the fourth preseason games, that's when it's time to make some decisions because things are not going according to plan.
J.A. is exactly right. Mina Kimes is the only person on earth besides the friends and family of the players in that game who watched it. All right, showdown number 2. Marquise Chris was traded to the Rockets, and of course, there's a tweet for everything. Chris once tweeted that, James Harden was trash. J.A., what's the bigger deal from this trade, the tweet or the player?
Well, the tweet, because I'm always here for the awkward. Maybe we can have another Cam Newton, Kelvin Benjamin moment where he rolls up on him. James Harden's like, yo, I got to talk that. Step aside, son. We're having this conversation right now. That's much more important to me and interesting than this transaction, which was mostly about getting rid of contract.
Look, Woody shades me on Twitter all the time, and I come and work with him. It's just fine. I actually think the trade's more important. I think it was a win for the Rockets. Not only do they get Ryan Anderson's contract off their books, but they add Marquise Chris, who's raw and hasn't been good, but he's young, athletic. They could still make something of him.
Cam Newton, that was a fun exchange. But, however, the Arugulas have a special place in my heart because I'm still upset about what happened at the end of last season. Last one. Giancarlo Stanton's 300th home run last night, and the fan who caught it gave it back for the following: a meet and greet with Stanton, autographed baseballs, tickets to a future game, a clubhouse tour, and wait for it, 2 Bud Lights. Dilly dilly, y'all. Mina, did he get that bounty, and can we even call it a bounty as such?
I'd like to first defend Bud Light. People are shading at. Bud Light is fine. It's delicious. But look, here's what he did. A ball fell into his lap. Who's saying he deserves more than what he got? Stop complaining and take what's given to you, and it's a fun experience.
Mina, if you found some money, would you take it somewhere and just give it back randomly and get a couple of tickets or something? No, you're going to try to cash in. That's what happened here. And I know the memorabilia market might not be what it was, but you should still hit eBay and see what you could get for that 300 home run ball rather than just cash out for a couple beers and a tour of a dirty clubhouse.
Mina Kimes, honesty is the best policy, and anybody willing to admit that Bud Light is a good beer on national TV deserves a win. Take your face down.
Urban Meyer.
Oh, wow. So many people like to point out to me on Twitter that despite covering football, I didn't play football. And yes, I'm not an elite athlete, but there is one sport I am excellent at, and that is ping pong. Now, it has come to my attention that some of my colleagues, Dominique Foxworth and Pablo Torre, think they could beat me, in which I'd like to say, you're wrong. I've been playing all my entire life. I own my own paddle. My Korean mother has trained me for this moment. I challenge everyone at ESPN. In ping pong, I will take you all.
And I will take that same challenge and issue it to everybody regarding foosball at ESPN. Don't snap to me. You will get served. That's going to do it, folks. Thanks for coming around. We're on a 95.5-hour break. Tony's back on Tuesday, kiddos.
Good job, Clinton.
Hi, Ma.
How about bed, baby?
Good job, bro.
Foosball.